Nicole, raise your hand if you can hear us.
I can hear you. I can't find my hand.
Every. Oh. Thank you, Nicole. Was that? Oh, perfect. The red box key. Is the voice good? Nicole, can you say something?
Can you hear me?
Ed can say he can hear us. We can't hear you. The blue one. The blue one. The one that says in middle. Talk again. Nicole, speak something. Speak something.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All righty.
The great and powerful Nicole. Okay. What time is it? 7:04. I'd like to call the order of the Town of North Stonington Board of Finance meeting on September 17th at 7:04. I am Vice Chair Dan Smith. We have in attendance Carl Johnson, Lou Gincarella, Winona Burdine, Amy Friend, and Gary Anino. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for doing that. All right, public comments. Do we have anybody online? Can't see. Oh, I can't see. Based on the number, I think we're good. I know, right? Okay. So with no public comments, we're going to go right into review of Board of Education financials. And that's fine. No. And we have in attendance to go over the Board of Ed financials as a chairwoman, Stephanie Mastriani. You're up.
Hello, everyone. At the tri-board meeting, there was a request for the end of the year financials. And then a little bit later in that week, Troy and Kathy asked Christine Wagner and I to come in and take a look at these financials with them. So you received that report last night, and I apologize for the delay, but as a board, we hadn't been able to go over them and approve them. So we did call a special meeting last night at 5:30 so that we would be able to discuss them and then move those to you so that we could have a discussion in a sort of an expedited way about these financials. So you received those last night. You will note if you skip to the last page, in the yellow highlight, we have an unspent amount that is higher than the amount that we originally anticipated. If you recall, in June, I came to you and spoke about a balance that was, I think it was around, well, I could just tell you by looking at my sheet. But we talked about it being a little higher than we had anticipated at 168,663. We then went over a list that we worked with Troy to put together on things that we could spend prior to the end of the year that could be applied to this budget. That list was about $70,000, leaving us with an approximate deposit into our non-lapsing account once our end of the year financials were complete of about $54,000. You will note now on line 233 on that last page, we have an unspent amount of $218,000, considerably higher. That does not include the $70,000 that was spent at the end of the year. So
Less the 70. 218 minus the 70.
Negative.
218, okay, this negative positive stuff.
Oh, no, I want to applaud you. I believe we got the brackets right. Are they?
I know that this is hotly debated and was actually adjusted at the request of the board at our last financial meeting. So in any event, we have too much, we have more money than we thought we would. Again, so sort of my high level overview of the why is more of the same. Kathy continued to comb through these expiring grants. She continued to find that there were things that we could use those grants, we could apply money from those grants into our budget. So that was money that was out there that we had to show that we had an expense for, then we would be reimbursed for that amount. So I think, and I think that my board, I represent the board when I say this, this number makes us uncomfortable because I've been standing up here now, I don't know for how many months, talking to you about how much money we need, how much money we have, understanding the budget, that sort of stuff. And as this number continues to change, I think we all recognize that it causes people to question what we know and what we're doing. I think the positive piece is that we have over the last 2 years sort of exposed the good and the bad to both you, the Board of Finance, and to the public. I come here and I talk to you when things are good, and I come and talk to you when things aren't good, because at the end of the day, we're all on the same team and we have to work through this. I am pleased that Kathy continued to go after that money to bring it back into the town and didn't just allow those grants to expire without bringing that money back. And so that, I think, we all applaud. This is money that belongs to the taxpayers of North Stonington, and we should have it back here in town. Unfortunately, these things weren't things that she knew about, that were easy to find, and they were, and she had to dig for them, but she did that, and I applaud that. She's been working with Melissa at the town, and I think that they're ready really to close out last fiscal year. Additionally, this budget that's been put together this year was put together by Kathy. She understands what's in all of the line items. There aren't any surprises, and it's hers to implement. And I think as you're looking, I know that you're looking at our financials in the infancy of the fiscal year, but I anticipate moving forward that those numbers are going to be far more accurate. Gary, I was thinking about something you said to me about, well, I thought about a lot of it, but I'm just going to talk about this one thing. You said that this is an underspend. And I was thinking about that $218,000 is an underspend. I actually look at it a little differently. I don't think we underspent this year. I think that this money represents revenue that we weren't aware of. I don't look at our budget and say we underspent. We found more money that came in. So I think it's important to keep that in mind as well as you look forward to the next year and you watch those projections,
Yeah,
as well as the board watching those projections. For
my
next year.
comment was reflective of Christine's reference as this being an overage. It is clearly not an overage.
I think maybe we could find a word to describe it. It's everyone's needs. But what we know.
Lou Springett- Lou
Okay,
Springett
Lou,
is-
say the
No,
word.
no, no, I just want to clarify a couple. So when you talk about income, you talk about the grants, that grant income.
That's where the grant money being applied to the budget is where you're going to see the biggest things. There are a few places where you're going to see mainly in the insurance line.
Yeah, because that-
139,000.
Right, so that stuff change, that's about staff changing elections.
but when you have a Board of Ed, especially, I believe, the finance subcommittee state that it basically it's one person says it's the grants, the other one says, no, it's more salaries and insurance, and this is more acceptable because, it's good. What is it? Is it
Well,
a,
it wasn't a subcommittee meeting. It
Well,
was
no,
it was a full board meeting.
no, what I'm saying is,
Can I
one of the
take
people
that
that
back, Dan?
Okay.
I want to ask this in a very methodical way. I need a walk of all of the dollars to get me. I want to know this $168,663, exactly where that came from June to September.
So the 168,663, is that what you're talking about? So that's from our May financial. So that's not the number that you're looking at.
No, I need to know, because that's the delta that we're talking about. And I listened to the meeting last night and I heard two different answers. That's what Dan is getting to. And that's the delta that I want to see walked out dollar for dollar.
So what I'm going to do is have that walk out with you, but Kathy and Troy are going to do it with you.
Okay,
I
but I want
think-
that in, I wanted that in a spreadsheet, because when
Sure.
I line up the dollars for the present, the Excel files that you've presented us, there are differences in 90% of the rows of data that you've presented us. Troy's data has differences in about 90% of the rows for what he has called fiscal year 25 actuals.
Yes,
We need to see a walk.
sure. So as Kathy's closing out the fiscal year, those actuals change, right? So you're getting fiscal year actuals as of May 1st.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about like a dollar. I'm not.
No,
even
no,
looking
no.
at
I
these.
totally agree with you. And I also agree with you that as I was looking through it today, preparing, because I understood that I thought Gary, maybe not, maybe more you, would have very specific questions about the changes because there are so many line items that are touched.
38,000 technology for new equipment. The insurance line is one of the lines that came up, salary, one of the lines. It's buried whenever you look at the rest of the lines that have changes of 7,000, 9,000, 10,000, 12,000.
Right, so I sought out the answers to those questions today to look like what grants were going to what lines, so that I could show you, here's the money that came in and that's where the money went.
And I
In
don't
May,
see differences. I don't see a lot of differences in the grant information from what was presented previously.
I agree with you. So when I saw that, I reached out for some answers myself so that I could clarify that stuff for you. And neither Troy nor Kathy were able to provide me with that today. And so
I
I'm
think
going
it's
to leave.
disingenuous for the Board of Ed to come here and tell us that they've discovered an additional $168,000 and not have an explanation for exactly where that $168,000 come from, especially when two members of the board last night gave two different answers. So I appreciate that this is an overage. I think the town appreciates that this is an overage, but I'm just going to use a word that you won't hear much from me. I've tried to be really supportive
I know you have.
of you and the Board of Ed and Troy and Kathy, but this is quite frankly ridiculous. And for a department that stands for education in this town, the fact that the math hasn't mathed for an entire 12 months, and we have seen a swing of over $1 million from start to finish.
And
You
I think
should-
you'll hear some people say,
Yeah.
hey,
No,
our budget's big. And I think you'll hear some people say
$20 million is
point-
more
a
than big, so.
0.2% is big.
Yeah.
And if you sit with us through budget season,
So
you
I'm-
understand.
We need a walk of all of these
I don't
dollars,
disagree.
and it needs to tie.
I don't disagree.
I'll go one step further. When you guys executed your budget starting July 1st,
July 1st of this year or last year, Dan?
this year, well, when you.
26.
Yes. So what was the FTE that you had to cut?
So Dan, I'm here tonight to talk about
no,
this
no, no.
report. I don't want to do that because I'm not prepared to do that. So tonight, I come to you with end of the year financials and to advance a plan forward that I didn't want you all to get this report and not formally be introduced to the plan because I think that that's irresponsible. I agree with you. No, they're not locked in.
Nothing's locked in. Subject to change without notice.
So these are not locked in because Melissa at the town and Kathy continued to work on these. And I think that moving forward, Gary also, I think, made a good point that moving forward, there needs to be some sort of agreed upon usual and customary time that you can close out the fiscal year. And I think that that'll be something that you'll have to speak with both Bob's office and the central office about and get some clarity on when that's done.
Okay, so.
Because I understand that you all have been waiting a long time to close it out.
Oh, okay. So can you explain some of the wild swings of some of the line items on this, like the homework club?
Sure.
Like the elementary homework club only spent $172, but they were budgeted 10,000.
That's true. She was able to apply a grant to that.
Okay. Medical insurance, obviously that was,
Specifically, that was the FY24 IDEA 611 grant.
okay. Medical insurance, obviously that's probably just staff moving in and out, correct?
Yep.
HSA contributions, probably the same thing. Fiscal services. What is that?
Can you give us the lines that you're talking about?
64. These are just ones I,
Sure,
Clearly, I
fiscal
might-
services is a huge swing from
is
our May 1st financials to now. So in May 1st, what this talked about was an overpayment to Tyler Technologies, and I don't see that reflected here. It was one of the questions I had today.
okay, annual audit, that was fine. Contract negotiations, you only spent half.
No, that's not for this. call. That's
No.
not for the teacher's contract.
For the
No,
other one.
we negotiated the secretary's contract without the attorney.
Line 112. What, 89? Did I not circle? Oh, we'll go to 84.
84? $3,000?
No, it's budgeted, but there's nothing there.
Okay. Can I just? We're talking about a $15 million budget. If something didn't happen on a $2,000 line item, I don't care.
I know you don't care, but maybe somebody else does,
Well,
Lou.
my point is, it's such an insignificant amount of money, and we have a big issue to deal with here. Let's talk about the 2,000.
Line 112. That's $48,000, Lou. Why was it underspent by that much?
So I-
That was,
There you go. That's the right way. to
right.
do it.
And so that's where you would see the grant applied. So those are the places.
Those are where the grants were applied.
I don't want to say, Dan, I can tell you what grant was applied there because that number is new. So I'd like to get clarification about that grant. I can tell you the ones that I know and I have the information for, but I'm not going to stand up here and tell you information that I haven't fact checked myself.
So why didn't we have this meeting when we could have the people that could answer these numbers?
Because the idea tonight was that I wasn't coming to do line by line. I'm here to give you an overview of what happened before these numbers come to you and before the
Okay.
Board of Finance has this discussion without the Board of Education saying, here's what we'd like to do with this, and we'd like to give you some information. So that's what I'm here for tonight. If you need a walkthrough, and I
Yes.
don't think that you are not entitled to a walkthrough. If you need that, then you can schedule that and you can have that. And you can have that, and it's not advantageous to have that with anyone except Kathy. Winona, there is a narrative document. It is not a spreadsheet that may help with some of the stuff that you were talking about that we had shared with us back on May 1st, along with this report. I can forward that to you while you're waiting for the rest, and that might point out some of the things, but I think you're going to see still a large variance between, if you look at May 1st and that sheet from there, a large variance on a number of line items between May 1st and this one that you see tonight.
So go ahead.
What is the plan? I'm going to take this up a level.
Sure.
This is out of character for me. What is the
Wildly
plan for the
surprised.
218? What is the plan? For the
Thanks
218?
for
Is
asking,
that
Gary.
coming back to the
You stole my
town?
thunder, Gary.
No,
So I
and
think-
the other thing I was gonna say is,
Sure.
this conversation has a flavor to it that last year we spent a lot of time understanding financials that we should have understood prior to change in staffing.
I agree.
This is a new year. Troy and Kathy built this budget. They own this budget. This should not happen
I
this
agree.
year. Okay,
I agree.
now what's happening with the 218?
So I think most of you were on the meeting last night. And
Yeah, I
probably
know.
the rest have watched it.
But we
by
might have a
now.
different audience. on the
So,
phone.
oh, for sure. No, that's what I'm here for, to formally go over this with you. So, and I want to say that this was Troy and Kathy's idea. They came to Christine and I with this idea last Thursday, and the board unanimously voted for it last night, that we will deposit $54,000 into our non-lapsing account as we had planned. And then approximately $164,000 or whatever the balance of this is after the closeout happens, will come back to the town and you can deposit it into your undesignated
So,
fund.
so what was the pros and cons logic or advantage and disadvantages of why that decision was made?
Well, I don't know what their pros and cons were.
Oh,
I could tell you
the
what
board,
mine were.
your board.
So there, if you listen to the meeting, and I think you were on there,
Mhm.
you would have noted that there wasn't any conversation about it.
Not really.
So I would think that likely people are on relatively the same page and we were doing the same things in our head, but I'll tell you my process. We have worked really hard. I personally have worked really hard to come to you and be open. With that being said, I have stood up in front of you and told you that we couldn't educate the students of North Stonington with less than a big percentage. And then I said, well, I really need this much. And then we sort of settled on this much. And now I come to you and I say, well, we have about, almost 2% left after the end of this year. And I recognize, and I think everyone recognizes, that that is not a good look. It does not make people feel confident in us. And one might say, because the total percentage, if you add in that $70,000, is 1.86, which I think you all know to be
Mhm.
below the 2% threshold that by statute, we are allowed to deposit into our non-lapsing. And I don't think anyone wants the look to be that the Board of Ed is somehow burying money in various places that pop up at the end, allowing a large pool of money left at the end, but just under that amount that we can pop into that account. I think that that's a horrible look for us. And I think, well, I know that we had no idea, and shame on us for having no idea, but we had no idea. And I wouldn't want any person in the town of North Stonington to think that this was intentional. And I think that by saying to the town, we intended $54,000. That's what we believed was coming. That's how we made our plan. That's how we allocated some spending out of the non-lapsing, knowing that number. This number shouldn't belong to us this year. This should be pushed back to the taxpayers. And as a Board of Finance, you all can decide what to do with it.
Steph, can you, first of all, thanks for coming here alone.
Thanks, Eden.
You're very brave. And for trying to explain everything to us. So I have a couple questions, and one of them might help clarify a few things here, or questions that people might have. The grant process. And, you know, people are saying how, you might say, how did they not know they had these grants? Where is that information kept? Like, is there money that are in other accounts? I mean, I don't know how many operating accounts the school actually has. I'm sure there's
That's a really
many.
good question, and definitely one that we should talk
So
about.
like, how is something like that missed, especially when it's money to use for the school?
These aren't dollars that we have in an account. These are dollars that we are told
You can access.
we are eligible for
Yep.
if we have eligible expenses. These grants have expiration dates. Some of those grants, I think the ones that sort of we chased down right at the end, those grants were expiring this year. Why those grants weren't applied appropriately across other fiscal years, because the grants are usually a few years long, right? The window is open. I don't know. I think part of the problem is that it wasn't clear. The tracking of those grants wasn't clear for Kathy. And
Is
so
there
she
any way
couldn't,
that The Board of Finance in the future can get a list of those.
I
so
think
that we
what,
could also understand what's coming in.
what
and-
you'll see now, and Winona, I don't know if this was at your request, I don't remember, or if it was at the Finance Committee's request, I don't know. But if you'll see now on these financials, you're gonna get a list on every financial report of what the grants are and where we're at with them. Because I think it's important, just like we add that non-lapsing list at the end, because it's important for everyone to know the big picture. And I think our board was really startled by this. It's never really been anything that's been talked about. And I think it's great that we're talking about it, but those are going to be added to the report. So now everyone will be able to see and track those.
Yeah, and I think it'd be helpful to have a timeline added as well,
Like how long,
right?
sure.
Yeah. And also, I can't remember the name of the program you guys use for accounting, but is there any way that the reports can be shared from that program?
Are you talking about Infinite Visions? That's our
Yes.
very it's
Like there have. to
it's
be
unreasonably,
Downloadable reports, right?
it's unreasonably large. These reports, they are, I don't know the right term. They come out of Infinite Visions. That's how these reports are. She doesn't enter the data into a spreadsheet.
No, right. That's why I would love those reports.
These are those reports. This is what
So
they create. So she can
downloads it
choose.
into Excel.
She can choose what columns she wants to show. Right? So we ask for specific columns. We've asked for labels before. I think Winona, you're the one that asked for the account code before. So she's able to select those. But
So
that
when
is.
she's
it's an
reconciling
interpretation.
with Melissa, who uses QuickBooks. I mean, that's gotta be a process.
I think that they could talk a little bit more about what that process looks like. But I think Infinite Visions, and we had this conversation at a recent meeting, we have spent so much money
Yeah,
on the software itself. And
it shouldn't be like that.
we were in a
Shouldn't be
situation where
troubleshooting
our
like that.
accounting software was sunsetting and we had to make a decision. We met with several other districts that used the account software that was sunsetting. We met with, I believe, the auditor at the time who suggested that this was the way to go. If you remember, the town briefly jumped into Infinite Visions as well. It was way too big for the town. It's very difficult to learn. It is not intuitive. We have spent so many training dollars that we talked about. Is it time to back out and try something new? And Kathy said that we've invested so much, and her and the other woman in the office, as well as Brandon, have spent so much time in the training that it's not the right time now to
No,
some
Okay,
sort
so
of junk it.
understood. So if that's the case and Kathy has options for what type of reports she creates, can she share those options with us? Because there may be ways that we can compare and analyze everything better for the town.
I think that would be a great tri-board discussion, because I think that these reports are coming from the Board of Ed, and so you want, and the Board of Ed to say, we want those reports as well, or we want that information, or Amy, what information do you want, and why do you think that's valuable? And is that valuable to Gary or Lou?
Honestly, we don't care about narrative, we just care about numbers matching.
But I guess if you're saying there are additional columns that you would like to analyze, I think we would all want to be on the same page. I
But no,
wouldn't,
But see, that's the problem. Reports get cut and split. We never see the full picture, and they're always in different columns, different reports.
And the Board of Ed has already demonstrated you can't even meet us on the sign convention of the spreadsheets. Why do you think you'd be receptive to reports that we want to see?
I continue to be optimistic that we're going to grow and build collaboration. And as the boards grow and change, that we're going to continue that, because that's something that we set in motion. And so I think if we're asking the school's financial leader to create reports, we should be making sure that we're using her time in the most efficient way. We're getting the very best report, the report that captures everything that everyone needs.
With that in mind, to something that you could add, because you can add columns to this, correct? Because this is information from that accounting system to an Excel spreadsheet. As for two things, for the grants, it might be helpful to see as a percentage of completion of the grant. That's typically, I think, what you would need to see as far as how much we were awarded and then how much have we utilized.
I think that ties in, Amy, to what you were suggesting, right? Like the timeline of the grant.
Right, okay. And then the next thing,
Can I pipe in for a second, Lou? Just because it's our responsibility. We're supposed to be the oversight of everything, and we kind of feel like we're not able to do our jobs if we don't have. And I know you're trying to give us all the information, but from our points of view, it sometimes feels like something's always missing.
I think we've always been really open to the idea. I mean, the account code is an example. Adding the grants is an example. If there's information that you need, tell us what that is, and we'll have her added into the report. But I'm not sure, from what I understand about Infinite Visions, it's not something that you could just like see the whole thing. You have to sort of
It's-
select what you want.
It's containerized. It's containerized. It basically you have.
So,
an
but I think if
account.
there are columns, Amy, that you want to see, and Amy, you will be in the position to be asking these questions in what, 6 weeks?
I don't know about that.
You may very well, Amy, be in the position in 6 weeks to be asking these questions. And I think that that's great. And if you have a better understanding of Infinite Visions than some of us on the board, then I think that that'll be valuable.
okay, if I could just go through a couple of things here. It wouldn't, I think it would be a very good idea if adding another column or two to the right and just simply identify the reason for the favorable or the unfavorable variance for that line item.
I
And
agree.
it could be just taking the first one, regular ed teachers, it is, I think, a favorable based on the numbers. And it could just be an explanation like.
Sure. So if you
two
look at,
less
your May 1st spreadsheet,
Mhm.
you will see that on that very first line, it is favorable. And on the right, there's a line called comments. And it's because $73,000 from the Right to Read grant was applied. And that,
Where do you, I don't see that.
so it's in your report. It's the one I'm comparing it to, the report you got in May. It was the May 1st report.
That
So we
gets to
do
my-
have those columns and they
That
are
gets to
helpful.
My second point. And my second point is, these are Excel spreadsheets that you've created, right?
Well,
So
I don't
you-
create them, but are
No,
created.
The school department has
Sure.
created them. So you need to, in order for us to be able to properly analyze these, you need to come to a format that you don't change
I
and
agree.
you don't move numbers around so that we're looking at different things between reports.
So I
let's
think the
decide-
numbers
if I
have,
could- if I
have
could finish-
remained the same.
If I could finish.
Sure.
So if line 19 on this report needs to be the same as line 19 on every report we get for the next 2 years.
So I'm going to challenge you to find when line 19 doesn't match
I
because
just-
I
I
think
just-
we had that
I
conversation.
just made that up.
Row 90.
Okay.
no,
Okay, 'cause
Row
I think we did that.
95 in May was middle school art and now it's not.
And that's from the May 1st report. I want to make sure I show that because we've had this conversation with our own board, Lou. And I was under the impression.
So they've all moved around. So if
Okay,
you look
can you give
under,
me that line again?
okay, so I want to make sure I'm on the right report, but middle school art.
Can you give me the
um,
number?
Hold on, I want to make sure I'm in the right report. I want to know which one I'm in. So in the newest one, it's on row 95.
Okay,
And
I'm
in
looking
the last month, it was in row. How to find it? I don't know where it's at because it's lost. It was in row.
I
Oh, it's-
see your difference, although it doesn't have to do with middle school.
It's in row 105. Now it's in 105 and it used to be in 95.
I see exactly what you see on my report this year. It says other supplies STEAM.
Other,
And in May, 95 was art.
yeah.
So you're absolutely right.
So, and that whole section from row 80 down, that whole section is scrambled.
Lou, I apologize. This was something that we have discussed.
Okay.
We talked about it being taken care of. It needs to be taken care of. It's incredibly difficult. I agree.
And once you do that, you can't change it because then it makes analysis almost impossible. And so that's why if you could do that and also include on a report to us, pick a number, $10,000, why there's a variance of $10,000 or more, and give us.
Sure, the
just
comments
a
line.
Comment.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's pretty evident. It's
Yes.
just nothing you can do about it.
And that was helpful in the May
Yeah,
1st.
so that's
Yeah.
it.
I think the comments line will come back. I think, well, if you listen to our meetings, you see the struggle, right?
Oh, yeah. We do.
There was a format shift just a couple of weeks ago. And I don't know, I mean, the Board of Ed says, hey, these are the Board of Ed reports. And I agree with you that it's incredibly difficult if the format keeps changing because we can't compare. I'm hoping that the format that they've adopted for this fiscal year, starting in July, will change. I believe that does include a comment line. It's very helpful for us. And I think it's more helpful for Kathy to not have to explain 77 times why line 1 has changed, because the comment's right there. I don't know how, as two boards, you will come together and decide on a format that people will stay with. That will be something that you'll be left to do. And I hope that through the collaboration, you'll be able to.
And again, to my walk question, the grant money moved for like $40,000. So there's 120,000 that, I mean, I don't know where I would be able to get there from May to September or whatever.
Sure, I'll have her do the comments like she did on May 1st. That should help
And
you.
again, it's from where we were to where we are. Because I don't understand, that's the part that I'm missing, is what changed from May to September? More than how did we get to the total of the 218, 273?
Yeah, agreed.
I'm curious, like, how we went from I don't even know what we were, 70? Where were we in the beginning? Whenever you guys were going. before you
168,
went on-
663.
Before you were at the 116. So from the 116 to the 218, how did we get there? Where did all that come from?
I agree. So that's
That's
what
what I
I was
wanted.
asking for today that I wasn't able to get. But we'll make sure that you get that. It's important.
So,
Gary,
so when you touched on it briefly, when will this be final?
I don't have that information. That would be information that would come from the town.
Next
I think.
question would
right?
be, when does it get returned? And then the other one's just sort of a comment. So in May, if I remember correctly, and this is just from memory, we had 168. And then we went shopping and we bought chairs and a
$70,000.
scoreboard and $70,000.
The scoreboard wasn't from that. That was from my non-lapsing account.
They
So-
went
so wait,
shopping.
Wait,
Let's
wait.
just
So
leave
we
it at
went
that.
shopping for $70,000. And now we have 218 or 216, and we're gonna put 54 in the school's non-lapsing account.
That's correct.
So total, 124K you've retained on the school board's side of the ledger.
Yes.
1% of the budget, roughly.
So you're going to call it shopping because you don't like it. And I mean, it is, we are in fact purchasing, but I don't want to allow your comment to go without my response, which is
Fair.
it is our responsibility to make sure that the school has appropriate equipment and our kids deserve that. So if I have a first grade teacher that needs a new rug for the first graders to sit on, I want her to have it. I would prefer that I don't have to add that into the operating budget because as you know, it grows the bottom line. I would also prefer that those requests, if they can be handled, don't come to the non-lapsing account and that they're handled. This year, there was this extra money that came from these grants. I felt really wonderful about being able to return it in a way that students, because I know we talk about this sometimes, right?
Yeah, Steph, I just gotta say something quickly.
Sure.
I just really hope that when you're talking about getting equipment working, that those cameras get installed.
The cameras are up and working. If you listen to our last Board of Ed meeting, Troy
All
did a
of them are?
technology update that at the start of school, every camera that we purchased was installed and every camera is working. And all of our technology that had been purchased earlier in the year that wasn't up, as well as the technology that we had purchased, I think right at the beginning of June through our non-lapsing account, was installed. Teachers received additional training at the start of school. Not every teacher is used to using a smart board, and we wanted to make sure if the technology was in their classroom,
Are the cameras
that
on
they
this
use it.
building as well?
in this
I
building.
thought they were to be installed outside here too, or no?
We were working on cameras across the street.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing in here additionally, except what they have.
Yes.
I don't recall a plan. We didn't drop any wires in. this
So
building.
so Stephanie, I appreciate your comment, but you kind of did both. We got some stuff because we had some extra money, and we also put money in the non-lapsing.
Yes.
So
I understand that you're unhappy with the direction that that went, and that's okay. And your purview as a resident, as a Board of Finance member, we can disagree.
Mhm.
I'm comfortable with the way that that money was spent, and you're not. And I think that we're never going to come to a place where we say,
No, I'm just pointing it out. I think it's great that you're thinking about giving us 218 minus 54,000, whatever that final number is.
yeah,
I think it's great that you locked in your 54 while our number floats until we get a final number, which we don't know when that's
I
gonna
think what
be.
we're saying is we don't think that we should say, like, you get 164 and we get what's left from that, because I think the idea is that that number could get bigger, could get smaller. We're going to take the
We're
54.
almost a quarter of the year into the new year, and
I
we don't have
understand.
final numbers, and
So-
that's not right.
You asked a question about when it
Sorry.
would be returned.
Yep,
That's at the time of the audit.
which
So-
is,
That is not a question that I can
End
answer.
of end of the year.
okay.
It
So
should
that's
be-
when we
it
get our
should be-
deposit and you get your deposit.
It should be complete by the end of the year, correct, Bob? Yeah. So I'll talk a little bit now, I guess. So great that money's coming back into the undesignated fund. Told us why it didn't go into the RISA account. So I do listen to your board meetings. Explain the potential overage with special education.
The unexpected expense.
Yes.
Is that what you want me to
yeah,
talk about?
Correct.
So I can talk very little about it, and at our board meeting on Wednesday,
Mhm.
it's on our agenda to get more specifics, but not too many specifics, and I'll tell you why. Those of you that are familiar with
Yep.
education will understand that there's confidentiality involved. In a district as small as ours, it's very difficult to be talking about a specific expense without exposing potentially who that person is. What I can tell you is it's an expense that we did not anticipate. And it could be over $100,000. So right now, there are appropriate people involved in determining what's our responsibility, what does that look like, and what's the best course of action. Once that number is solidified, we'll have an idea whether that's something that we can absorb into that budget
Mhm.
or not. If it isn't, we'll come back to you for an appropriation. I think, is this our third budget cycle? I think that we changed how we used to do it, right? So we used to put money in that special education budget for what might happen. And we took that out to make it a more realistic number, knowing that there could be a year in which we said, hey, we didn't know about this. We didn't want to put extra money just in case. We have not had to come back to the town. And this might be the year that we do. You'll hear more about that on Wednesday.
Mhm.
I don't know that you'll ever have many more details than that.
Okay, because I would believe if it goes into the town, it would have to go to the board of selectmen, then to this, and then it would have to go to a town meeting.
I believe that by statute, and I may be wrong because we've never done that before, we cannot be denied an appropriation for special education because we are by statute, it's not just the right thing to do to pay for this, but we are held responsible for paying for the education of any child in our district. And so I believe that that is what statute dictates. Again, I've never been in the position where we had to use it. I actually can't remember a time that we came back to the Board of Finance, but I believe that is the process. I don't think we go to the Board of Selectmen, however.
No?
The Board of Education never starts with the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
Sorry. With all the things the Board of Education was able to absorb and cover last year with the softness in the budget, they can't cover $100,000 in special ed.
And that's why
I
I
guess
question.
it's a place where I don't think anyone is sure what that number looks like right now. And I think that things are being
Maybe
discussed
Okay.
and things are being assessed. And I think once that number is there, then Kathy would have to sort of look out at the forecast and say, is this something?
So
Is that not something?
So-
And then we would see you then. But I think that this discussion won't be like silence and then, hey, guys, we need an appropriation. I think that it will be a discussion that will continue and evolve so that you are all in the loop.
a very vague discussion. So it will be, we need the money. That's what,
I think
that's what will
it
be.
will be that we need an appropriation for special education. Yes.
We need the money, basically. So if you guys have a high probability or a reasonable probability, correct, Lou? I think you and I kind of, why wouldn't you just keep, if you knew that there was a high or a reasonable probability that that money would have to be encumbered for that service, that's a legitimate reason to keep that in the undesignated fund. for
It's
you
actually
guys.
not.
And
We
in our,
can't
I
pay.
think in our mind, it could be.
So there's
Yes,
no
they can.
functionality for that. So we can't deposit, and it would have to go somewhere, right? Because this budget's closed. We can't just
Yeah.
like pop money in somewhere. So it either has to go to you or to our non-lapsing account. We are not able to pay for things like that through our account. So what we would need to do, so say I take
Move money around.
so we would have to start supplanting things, right? So, okay, so now I take
Yeah.
my school supplies out of the budget, reappropriate that money to special ed, and I buy school supplies out of non-lapsing. And so then
Yeah.
that starts to look nutty. And I think it's cleaner to do it this way.
Carl?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the superintendent has his right to move anything he wants in
He does.
any his budget. So instead of applying the grant to one of the items, which is where it was supposed to be, and then do what you just said, move some other items, 20,000 here, 10,000 there, so that you're not using the non-lapsing account, you're using,
But we can't put it in this year's budget. So that's money out of last year's budget. So an overage from a
Okay,
budget
that's
can
what you
only go
explained,
two
yeah.
places. My non-lapsing account or your undesignated fund. we can't, it would be great if we could just hold it aside, right? And say, well, we'll hold on it, we'll hold it, and then we'll wait. And if we need that expense, we'll apply it there. And if we don't, we'll give it back to you later. But that's not an accounting process that we're able to do.
So all of the extra money that you're talking about to give us was all grant money, not coming out of the insurance line. Am I correct?
No, what I'm telling you is,
I know,
that is a combination
Okay,
of any
combination, yeah.
overage.
Okay, so the overage in the insurance line, and you guys can all correct me if I'm wrong, the overage insurance line is a line that's already there.
Yes.
So why couldn't that overage in there, instead of coming back to this line, be transferred to your,
Because I couldn't pay for the special education from my non-lapsing account. So that means.
so the insurance line item that you had extra money with is money that's in the non-lapsing you're paying?
No,
Okay.
it's just a line item, right? So in the real world, we don't have separate accounts for this stuff. It's just the line that it lives in on an Excel sheet. So at the end of the year, we have two options. One option is you, the other option, up to 2%, is us. We don't pay for things like services, salaries, insurance out of the non-lapsing account. We pay for what we look to be one-time expenses,
That-
purchases, capital items. So if we were to move $139,000, I think that's what that line was, right?
Yeah,
That
somewhere,
overage.
there, yeah.
But the thing is that when you look at that larger line, right? So it balances out. So if you look,
What's the number?
let's go to insurance. I think it's employee benefits.
Number, please.
That is 49.
No.
So if you look at the end of that, right, do you see
Wait
it
a minute.
says 75,748?
What you said 49. No.
Right, so, yeah, look here. So employee benefits.
Yeah,
So if you look to the end of that,
Yep.
that's the number that were favorable. So it actually is only $75,000. So again, it's just a spreadsheet.
okay, I understand that. I'm still having a hard time.
Okay.
And you can explain to me, if I need to take 3 reams of paper out of one account to move to another account, you guys are allowed to do that, am I correct?
The superintendent has complete control over his
Okay.
operating budget.
And that's in your budget setup. It's not any money that got paid by grant,
It might be, but there's probably not a grant that can be applied to a
okay?
ream of paper.
So the insurance money that came back to you because of the benefits cannot be moved to another line item?
It didn't come out, it just wasn't spent.
Right, you didn't spend it, so you
So
had an
we could
overage.
if it was this year. So in 2026, our current budget year, you're absolutely right. Say we have an expense in paper, but I have an overage in salary because we hired a teacher that's way less expensive than we thought that person would be. That money can absolutely be moved around within the fiscal year, 26.
All right, so
This
maybe
is
I'm,
from
maybe I'm wrong then.
25.
Let's back up.
Sure.
You're one fiscal year and talking about a second one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all you had to say the first time. I'm sorry. I
I'm
didn't
sorry, I was
understand that.
explaining it poorly. Yeah, so we don't
Okay.
have an option to like suck that back into 26.
Okay.
So if I
My
could
fault.
follow
Thank
up
you.
on-
Yeah,
We're just started school a couple of weeks ago,
yes.
and all of that movement can happen throughout the year. Why would you be coming back now instead of waiting until April to say, okay, all the dust is settled on all the accounts, and instead of now having a $200,000 favorable, we're now 100,000 and now we need the money.
Yeah, I don't know that you will see that before then.
You just said you were gonna do that.
No. I said that we're going to start. So this has come to our attention because it's the start of the school year, right? So right now they're discussing and assessing what those services look like and what the
Okay.
options are.
So then we're not gonna hear about this for an appropriation until the spring.
I don't know when you'll hear from it, but I think what will happen is that once they determine what that number is, then Kathy will start looking at projections. Are we trending in a way that we can do that, or can we not? And then, but I don't expect that you're going to hear in November about an appropriation. I don't expect that.
That's all I was getting
Yeah.
at, that we are a ways away from hearing about the need for additional funds for this special education.
I don't want to say a ways because that feels nebulous, and what you think is a ways and I think is a ways could be different. I'm going to say, I don't think we're ready to do that. And I think that you are absolutely right that that process would be
I will
employed.
say this then, if we get an appropriation before January or February of next year, then I think you're not doing your job. Because we should wait to see how the entire, at least the first 6 months of the year go through before you start looking at needing to make special appropriation.
Well, I will let you say that to, I don't know, whoever's standing here in January or February or whomever is asking for it, but I am hopeful, I'm really hopeful that Kathy is really competent and is going to make sure.
Good, okay. So one other,
I'm
I have
hopeful.
just another couple.
Sure.
Are these all of the grants that the school has that you get listed here on the back page? This is
Yes.
all of them.
Those are the grants for 2025. Those close out 2025.
That's not my question.
So you're not going to see those on this. You'll see those on our new financials.
Okay, I'll ask it again. How many of these? Are there any other grants that the school has that it's working through besides these?
Yes, because a number of these close out this year. So this packet that you're looking at, some of these aren't in
No,
this year. So I can tell you that there's no more ARPA. So you won't
no,
see
no.
those.
But
Just let me finish.
I know what you're saying. Is there any up and coming ones that are going, that have not been spent yet? Correct?
Those will be reflected on the financials.
Which we don't have.
Which we don't have. Okay, so you're,
I don't know that you don't have them.
No,
You
we
don't have them in this report because this is a closeout of 25.
let me just say, if.
Okay.
If, when we see this report in 2 months or 3 months, some of these will have dropped off.
Yes.
And do we have others that are active besides those that are listed here?
You will have new ones. So some of them you will see. So IDEA, those are federal grants that have been in existence since 1993.
Have any,
You will see that.
right, have any of those been awarded?
They're not awarded. It's money that's available if we have expenses that we can submit to get that money. So there's eligible money that we can then say, we have an eligible expense that we are submitting, and then that money comes back. You will be able to see that. And I believe that you will also be able to see what would be the maximum amount of eligibility that we would have.
Then, so there is someplace a report that identifies all of that.
You are going to start seeing those as you did in May and as you do here in your monthly reports from us. So that we are,
But all of these are awarded, guaranteed, they're here, we're getting it, oh, we got it,
these are,
right? Yes. The ones that you were talking about are the ones we might get.
they're what we're
So-
eligible for.
Okay.
Okay,
You good?
no.
Okay, cool.
All
It's
of this
okay.
money goes into the one account? One checking account?
This money would come in and be applied to the operating budget.
Okay, let me ask that again. One checking account?
I mean, we actually, I think, only have one big checking account, and I believe it's the account of the town. Like, we don't have little accounts with the
Okay,
exception of the
that's what
student
I was getting
activities.
at. Does the
Student activities
school,
fund.
do you have separate accounts anywhere? Like checking accounts or bank accounts?
No, so what happens is when money comes in or we have to pay something, the treasurer, Kathy, sends a request to the town. The
Mhm,
treasurer then goes to the bank,
mhm.
moves money out of the undesignated or the town's budget, their town's account, into the school account for that to be paid. We don't sit on a pool of money.
So there are no bank accounts under any authority with the school. It's all,
I'm not sure I understand, like,
Hold
I guess I'm
Okay.
not understanding. I don't I'm gonna just
Yeah.
ask Lou to explain it to me, just so I'm getting
I
what we
that's what I
want.
want to know. I mean, I want to know if there are other.
We have a
accounts.
student activities fund that we've talked about before, right? So that's an account
Mhm.
that's separate from our operating expenses. If I have a field trip, so tomorrow my kid's going to New York, I had to pay for that field trip, that pays for his ticket and his bus, right? So my check goes to student activities fund, Wheeler grade 10 field trip.
Okay,
That does not go into the account that lies with the town. Does that make sense?
and that account has its own reconciliation.
Yes.
The
And we've-
auditor- And the auditors look at that?
Yes, and one of the problems that we had last year that came to light, and I think Kathy talked about it here, is that that account was they were accounting through an old expired QuickBooks version that was only on an old laptop. It wasn't in the cloud. And so she could only use this one laptop. Since then, that account has been migrated to regular QuickBooks. It's all updated, but I think that that's the question that
So
you're
that's the
asking.
only other, I just want to, there's no.
We don't have
separate-
like the state sends us a check for $30,000 for a special ed expense and it goes into that account. No.
So, but like based off of the student activity fund, when I asked the question about the giving closet and yeah, that information, when an account has extra money and it goes to Funk, what Kathy said was that money gets signed off by Troy and it goes into the principal's fund or principal's account.
You would
or-
have to go over that with her.
I'm just saying that's the email. That's what I got from her. We don't see it as a.
You do
line
not
item.
see the student activities account. That's true.
And the principal's account is,
So that's what's funded through that, right? So if you want to talk more about the student activities account,
yeah,
we can absolutely put that on the agenda and we can talk about the student activities account and the things that Kathy has done with that account since she initially identified the
Correct.
problem.
right.
I guess, this is just my opinion. I think any account that's separate from the town's operating checking account, we should at least on a quarterly basis see what's in there and what activities happen and where the money's come from and where it's going. Because that's just good bookkeeping.
I don't
We
think
should
it's
have- we should have
unreasonable.
We should have a reconciliation of
Mhm.
that we can see where that money's.
Yeah, I don't think it's unreasonable.
So, look, all right, so I think going forward, we got obviously we got the financials pretty late, not any fault of anybody's. We'll digest it, and I think the next meeting or whenever we can get the schedules to have Troy and Kathy come and explain the line items that we need to have explained. I think,
I'm gonna try and get it to you ahead of time, actually, just,
Yeah, it's
I
fine.
mean, I don't think you have to necessarily wait for a meeting for the information.
yeah, it's fine. It's just, I think when we go over the financials, if we have them ahead of time, they are the best ones, obviously, to go line by line if we have questions, concerns, to be able to vet out what we want.
Sure, I think that there are mixed feelings about that within the board, and you can take that up with the new board and with the new board chair in terms of where the superintendent and the finance manager should be and what meetings they should attend. So we are mandated to provide you with reports. I think this year we have made, it's part of our standard agenda that when we review our financials, we then vote to move them to you. I guess sometimes those meetings are close together, but in
Yeah, that's
general, so
fine.
we moved our financial reports to you last week. In terms of going over them once a month and having someone here once a month to do that, I don't know if that is a realistic,
Or every other, or quarterly.
I don't know, but maybe that's a great tri-board discussion. I think that there is going to be a discussion that might help with that process at the Board of Ed meeting on Wednesday, talking about Board of Finance, Board of Ed collaboration. I put it on the agenda. I have some thoughts about what might help, but I think the Board of Ed should probably weigh in before I sort of talk about what I think, because that's not important. It's what the board thinks is important. But I think this process is hard. And I think it should be a process that is hard. There should be sort of an adversarial relationship between us, right? but there also should be a collaborative relationship. Your job is to ask questions about what we're doing.
Yep.
And that's gotta be okay under any circumstance, right? Your job is to oversee. Amy said that, right? Like that's the job of the Board of Finance. And it's our job to look out for the education of the students in North Stonington. And sometimes Gary will say shop and I will say the kids need the new rug and we'll do that. And that's
Mhm.
okay. But I think by and large, it's really important that it be collaborative and that there be trust. And so we have to work to find a way to do that and to institutionalize that.
Go ahead, Gary.
No, I was, sorry.
All right.
There should be no adversarial relationships here at all. And no, there really shouldn't be. And this is about trust, but the tri-board meeting was 3 weeks ago. And in that time you found $160,000, which is about $7,500 a day over that period of time. That does not breed trust. That's super frustrating for me. And you guys know that I sit here and I crunch numbers like
You
all
do.
the time. So
Yeah.
this is where like, just help us help you. And this isn't about late reports. This is about formatting. This is about showing us the right numbers. This is about being able to communicate what is happening on your end and making us feel confident that you guys know what's happening. So this is not on us. This is about the Board of Ed being able to communicate what's going on and making us feel confident that you have the purse strings and that you can handle $20 million that the town is giving you out of their wallets.
Sure. And when I say adversarial, Winona, I mean it in a way that a prosecutor and a defense attorney can like each other, smile at each other, but they are working in two different functions. We have two different roles. And so while we can always communicate and we are beholden to you to communicate what we are spending things on, we might say, but we need this. And you might say, you
Yeah.
don't. And that's okay. And I agree with you that we need to communicate that. And I think that the Board of Education as a whole would say, and we need you to understand what our needs are. And I think that we are there generally. I think you have been very open to
Mhm.
discussions around budget and needs. And I think that when you say finding $218,000 or $7,500 a day since the tri-board is frustrating to you, I would submit that as the woman who has to come stand up here and tell you what I have and what I need, that is equally as frustrating, maybe even more to me. And so I am with you. And I think that there is not a person on the Board of Education that wants to play hide the ball. I really don't. But I understand that these changes
Mhm.
don't inspire trust and confidence.
So I'll close this out. Steph, is this gonna be your last?
I would love to come and talk to you in October about what I hope to come out of the Board of Education meeting on Wednesday.
Okay.
And sort of like one last thing that I can say, I think this might push us in that direction.
Okay, but
Because I think we have that potential.
I'll preface it because I probably won't be chair then, or because Mike will be back and everything. So I will say, from my stand, you always come in front of this board with all the answers that you are to the best of your ability. You always have a good way of putting forward your board in the best light that you can in tough situations, no matter what the budget situation or however it is. And we ask always the tough questions and you always come back and you always have that smile and everything. But I really will say thank you for coming in front of this board
Thanks.
every
Dan.
single time when
That's an
asked.
awesome process. Thank you.
And, you have been probably one of the best chairs this town has had
Oh, well, that's very sweet.
in a very long time, if ever. I won't speak for the rest of the board, but
Thank you.
I want to thank you for coming in front of this board.
I think if nothing else, I think we all just need to remember that we are all doing this because we have a pull to do something for the town. And at the end of the day, while we may have different functions, we really are all here because we want the same thing.
Mhm.
And I think that if we continue to view it through that lens, we're all going to be fine. So thank you. I have enjoyed my time with you, although sometimes you guys make me really tired. Nice to see you all again, and I hope to see you in October.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, wake up,
I-
Bob.
I just,
Yeah, Gary.
so the financial walk.
Yep.
Does that have to be a Board of Finance meeting? I mean, can we just send a couple key individuals and meet with Troy and his staff and get what we need?
They can send a file. Just send the data.
That's what I hope to do. I think you're asking for like a spreadsheet.
Just
Yeah,
send
Yeah.
the math.
I gotta tell you.
It's a revision history of why things went the way they
The
went.
thought of an in detail financial walk through the spreadsheet,
No, they just,
Candyland Trail is not gonna get me to
just
come to a
send the
meeting.
math.
Okay,
I think what usually is presented towards the budget, because I know like, I think on a couple of revisions of the budget, they had why this number changed and it had it, the comment column. I call it, in my work, my line of work is revision history, of why this changed and it went from this line to this line and it got added here. I think that's what everybody's kind of looking for, is a lot of the line items that I highlighted here in the 15, 20 minutes I had to look at it. You had an answer. It was grant. It's got to apply this. That's the reason why there's a huge delta here and there. And I think that will solve a lot of the ongoing issues.
Delta the budget is easy to see.
Mhm.
My concern
Is the-
is delta from the tri-board.
Mhm.
That's the part that doesn't hang together.
Totally agree. Anybody have anything else? Gary? All right, Bob. Undesignated fund discussion. Was that?
Great, well,
Go ahead.
now I'm ready. So I'm gonna go off that topic just for a second to get some housekeeping done. Anita Kincaid's property.
Mhm.
You know that there's, the Avalonia is trying to buy it from Gary Kincaid and
Mhm.
asking the town for 75,000 out of their land acquisition fund.
Yep.
Which according to the ordinance, we can do if the town has an appetite to do it. So it's not against the ordinance. But in the ordinance, because they're asking for town money, it has to go through a process.
Yep.
It did just go through the process of the 824 review from the planning and zoning. The Board of Selectmen already approved to have this start going through the process. The next stop is the Board of Finance. If you decide to move it forward, it comes back to the Board of Selectmen, who then puts it on a town meeting. The town meeting I'm looking at is probably gonna be sometime in mid to late November, because I have a lot of other housekeeping we have
Do
to
you
do.
want us to, do you want us to add a line?
So I'm just wanted to tell you, I'm gonna try to add it to either October 1st or October
We
15th.
can,
I might give you a choice, because I know when I look at my agenda, sometimes I go, I don't want to deal with that on this particular agenda. So think about what you have coming up, and I'll send an email to you and Michael, and I can put on one or the other. But obviously, there's going to be a discussion with it, so if you have a long agenda already, do you want to add more length to it, is what I'm saying. Okay, so I'll send you an email, you can let me know which one. Either one's fine, because I think it's third Monday in November, I'm looking at
so
it.
really, this
town meeting.
board really just has to vote on it because it's.
Excuse me?
This board just has to vote on it to move.
You
it
have to vote if you want to move it to back to the selectmen so we can call a town meeting, but you are a step in the process because of the ad. If they weren't asking for 75,000, this would not deal with any of us. This would just be a private transaction. But that's why, I mean, planning and zoning had to be involved, which they normally would not be involved. in
But
this.
it's sitting with us right now.
It's going to be sitting with you at your next, whenever I can get in front of you to do it. I'm not doing it tonight because it's not on the agenda, but.
Well, we could add it. It's not a special, it's not a special.
I don't know,
meeting.
because I think I'm gonna want to have people from Avalonia and other people here to help make the case. So I'm not just making the
Okay.
case.
you want to hear this. I went
Okay.
to the first meeting. You want to hear this.
I want to hear it. Okay.
I like how Gary says, I'm a member of Avalonia, but. Anyway, so I don't think I could give the argument justice. So,
Gary, your eyes twitching.
um,
Okay. Yeah, send us some dates.
And I know, I think the library one's coming in front of you on the 15th. so
Yes, do you have any information on why?
I think they just, because it's in your court right now, because it already went to the Board of Selectmen,
What is?
whatever their ask is for the town. We put it through to the Board of
Correct, and
Finance
that-
a
and
while back.
And I thought the parameters of that changed.
So they're gonna come, I guess, from what I heard, they're not coming in front of the Board of Selectmen. I heard they talked to your chairman and set it up with him. The first time I heard about this was at your last meeting when Mike said the library's coming on the 15th.
And
We asked, we had individual tours with several library staff There was a lot of asks. The ball is in their court to provide us that
And I
information
think-
before we talk about money.
No, I think that's, yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's exactly what they're doing is they have a new director, right, because
Mhm.
Amy retired. They've hired a general contractor, and I think they're changing some of the scope, and they have new pricing, want to talk about where their grant situation is. So
So
I guess that, I mean, to me, they're just trying to get caught where they left off.
however, it's not, if the financing or the grants have somehow changed from, and the scope has changed or differed from what the Board of Selectmen have
Mhm.
reviewed and approved to send to us, I would say that this board would have to send it back to you guys.
I don't disagree, but I'm not sure why they're coming. No one said to me, can we get in front of the Board of
And I,
Selectmen?
I think the rest of everybody on this board and everything are kind of like, okay, they're coming, but what, we haven't heard or seen anything.
So if their ask isn't changing, and they want us to let you know, so if they're still asking town for this, what was it, not to exceed $1 million, I think it's been so long. I think it was a not to exceed $1 million, if I'm not mistaken. If that has not changed, and they're just trying to answer the questions that you posed 6 or 8 months ago, then maybe that's why they're coming in front of you.
If I could suggest, given
Go ahead.
what we don't know yet.
I have no idea.
Just push this off to the next, to when they want to come in, and maybe they just want to say hi, who we are. and-
Nobody just comes and says hi.
How,
anymore.
how,
The money people
how
know.
about we ask why?
Well, but here's the thing, it's not on our agenda, and,
Yep.
I mean, we're just kind of
Well,
speculating here.
this could be a perfect, well, we could ask,
They might
would
not
you-
show up, not on
No,
our
no, no.
agenda,
I
so,
I don't know when,
no, I don't know.
but what I'm asking is maybe Bob can find out for us.
But all I know is your chair said they were coming to your meeting on the 15th.
I think we've asked Bob to do enough after the capital question.
I
He's
thought-
on, he might be on the warm notch right now.
So what I do know is that as far as I've heard, and I talked to Kate Parento about it, their ask has not changed. So I think they're coming to you to answer the questions you posed back 6 or 8 months ago. To let you know, let you know where they are.
Because I don't think, did we ever receive anything? No, nothing formal,
The,
no.
la-
no
the
read-
the last thing we received was that the grants dried up and they were rethinking. We have not heard anything. There was no responses to our questions, no feedback from the tours.
No
So
presentation read
then,
ahead.
rather than try to speak for them and think what they
Oh,
might be
correct.
telling you,
Yeah,
I think
correct.
if they're coming to according to Michael Anderson, they're scheduled for the 15th, I'd say let them come in and find out what they want. But they've not approached me about coming in front of the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, I would say if they're expecting to come here on the 15th to say, here's our project, go vote on it to move it forward, I don't think that will go well.
Well, if they come on the 15th and they have new information, I would assume you'd sit on it for at least a meeting anyway. You wouldn't
Yeah.
vote the same time you heard it. would you?
Probably.
I know we try not to do that. So, all right, so for the task at hand, which is,
Perfect.
does anybody need a hard copy that I emailed you earlier? Because I have hard copies if you need them. Okay, perfect. So. You want anybody else want to know? Amy, you're good? You don't need one? Here you go. All right, so the thinking on this, there's some thoughts, and I want you to know, Lou, I did think of what you said too, as far as the tanks and so on. So I came up with my list. I sent it to the Board of Selectmen. We discussed at our meeting last evening, and we're all on the same page as how we want to handle it. A couple of the philosophies I used was, do not pay something partially. Don't pay 1 year and then have to come back the next year. So what I tried to do, and we'll call the loader a vehicle for this discussion. I tried to take vehicles that had 1, 2, or 3 year payoffs, and I wanted to pay them off in full, but I had to do that and still stay under the not to exceed $700,000 rule. Okay. So when I did that, I took the 3 vehicles from the highway department, which was the loader, the hook lift truck, and the 10-wheel plow truck. I also took the ambulance, which is the smaller of the 2 ambulances, the one we're paying for now. And that was, it's $34,500. When I added those up, I still had room between that number and the 700. I listened to what Lou said about the tanks. Now, the only difference about just paying that off and doing the project now, the selectmen concurred last evening that we want to obligate that 200,000 for the tanks. So we already put 100,000 away. We want to obligate the 200,000, which is 50 a year for the next 4 years. So that's 300,000 obligated for two things. One, if there is a leak, we have the money to do it immediately. But in the meantime, get quoting in to say, what's it going to cost me if I do it in the spring? What's it going to cost me in 2030? If it's $15,000 difference, we might just hold on to our money. If it's 50,000 or 100,000, why not do it sooner instead of later? But as Nicole and Brett agreed, I think it was actually on their idea, Brett's idea, why do it now? If the tanks aren't leaking, they're in good shape. If we prolong it, and as long as it's not going to cost us a lot more money, why do it now and then find out now the new system is going to be that much older, right? So now we got a system in 2030 that's 3 years old versus brand new. And that's the thing. As long as the money makes sense, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I did hear that conversation and I can understand the rationale. But I'd only make a couple of comments on that. As long as we're going forward in getting the engineering work done and some estimates, some pretty solid estimates done to see what it will cost, then that's great. I guess that's the process you're gonna go in regardless of if you're gonna push to do it this spring or you're gonna do it 2 years. So that's great. The new tanks that we would be putting in, if they're like those that are going in now, they're 50-year tanks. So if the other couple of years that we're getting out of what we have now, to me, that isn't such a big deal.
I think it's going to come down to finances.
Yeah,
Lou.
but you're right. If they're looking at it and saying, you know, we can hold this price firm for a couple of years. The only question I would have though is if any new system would have better or more accurate accounting information as far as who's utilizing those pumps. I'm going from a sketchy memory here when you brought us all out there and there was a discussion about how that all works out there. And I think it was mentioned then that a new system would have much better accounting controls or usage controls built into a new system.
It may be because we use a fob system. That's how we know who gets gas and how we charge them.
What system?
They use fobs. They all have to use their own key that tells me who's filling up.
But he said Bob system. That was-
No, I'm not taking credit for that.
Bob,
It's a fob.
Bob,
system.
refresh my memory. Does the school buses fill up at the town?
They do.
garage? They do? So, and this is what you and I were going back and forth on. They have a variance of like close to $51,000 underspent on fuel from what it was budgeted.
And the town budget was over
Yeah.
by like
and this-
100,000
and I think that
on
would kind
diesel.
of go into your,
Yeah.
like, is maybe how they're doing it is kind of skewed and how we're doing it is kind of skewed, or I don't know. It's just,
It did seem, I remember that from the budget discussions, why we were over and why they were under. And I think,
I can't remember that.
I mean, some of it could be usage, lack of usage versus more usage. I know we had to
That's a
do a lot
lot.
more plowing this year and so on, so maybe trucks were being more, a lot more sanding. So maybe we were using more gas. I don't know why they were using less though.
Yeah, they used a lot less, like a lot.
And I do know they were using the senior van, the small van a lot to transport kids. And I'm sure that is probably less expensive than using a big bus.
Could be, but
Hmm? No, no, it's the senior center fob, but if they're using it, it
Yeah,
gets
but
assigned to the school. Yeah.
Huge amount, but it's almost half, it's more than half of that budget.
And so maybe that's a good Alan question, because I would hate to try to make it up as I go.
So I'm good with this, but I'm a little worried, I'm a little concerned about the pricing of the tank replacement. You know, I would like to see a solid scope and a solid, not a whisper number, an actual bid on this thing, so we know what it is, not call a guy and he says it's gonna be about that, and that's what we save towards it. We have this opportunity to make sure we step off and get this thing dialed in and do it right.
Yeah, I think we'll have a written quote by people who do this type of work. And I'd like to get it quoted two ways, if we did it now versus.
Why wouldn't you do like an RFP process? What?
Yeah, there's only one, there's
Not
one
many
co-
companies that do this, but,
yeah, there's one company that does it.
All right, that doesn't smell right.
well, it's not my problem. Not my company. I wish it
I'll
was.
call Alan. All right.
Call Alan. Have that discussion with Alan. But for your purposes, the idea is like, what's it gonna cost me now? What's it gonna cost me then? And if it's makes sense to not do it right now, because the tanks are working fine. I mean, a lot of times people don't buy new cars in October because they don't want to go through the winter with them, right? So, same thing. But anyway, so the good news is, we all agree, put the money aside, whether we do it now, do it later, but the money will be obligated
Mhm.
for that purpose. So when that's all said, all these numbers together, I think came to around $672,000. The reason is that's about 27 less than the 700, and I don't have to spend 700 just because you say you can spend up to.
Up to, yep.
But that little bit of extra could be if the tanks, we want to do it now because it's going up by 100,000 in 2030. It's $25,000 more now than it was when we quoted it 2 years ago. So at least it gives us a little bit of a buffer.
This, the money that we allocated already and that we're now going to obligate was based on an estimate from 2 or 3 years ago.
2 years ago. That's when the estimate 2 years ago was, what's it going to cost us to get this done in 2030 so we can start saving?
Yep.
We have 6 years to save. How much is that number? And at the time was, I think it was in the high 200s, so they rounded it to 3. Something we knew we had to do because it's the government's making us do it. So why not save? So the bottom line on this is, by taking this money out of the capital, we know right off the bat, next year's capital is about $310,000 lower than it is now. And when you look at capital, by the way, don't forget, next year's capital is not approved except for the things that were approved previously. So when you look at the education capital, none of that's been approved in year 2, 3, 4, or 5. Year 1 had the buses in it, which we took out because I was able to use the senior center buses. So that 65,000 is unapproved, and that's part of the total 789,091. But with that number, that number now, we know 310,000 is coming off right off the bat because it's the biggest deduction is next year because we have 5 things coming out next year.
So we need to get back to our previous discussion, we need, with the Board of Ed, we need to memorialize what the capital budget numbers are for next year and the following years, so we can watch them, because we can't just let them
No,
reinflate.
so right now we're in the process of getting information in about capital. It's on the budget,
Right.
calendar, and
Yeah.
I'll be coming to I think in January, we come to our capital with you guys. But we're asking people to send in now. Good news, I called the fire company, he says there's no new capital, which is nice.
No, but I don't know if anybody even uses this term anymore, but we're gonna kind of need a histogram as to, this is what our capital budget was. Then the Board of Finance sent this money back to the town to pay down some capital that we had planned for the next couple of years. And this is what our budgets are as of 9/25.
So I think if we keep doing the 5-year plan, if we save some years, as you said,
Yeah.
and look, and so as we're going through the 5-year plan, we keep some past years, you see what it was before we did this,
Okay.
right?
As long as that is captured somewhere, I'm good.
And we saved these anyway, so I mean, I probably have one 2017, 18, 19. Okay, so that's the plan. Go ahead, Lou.
So with that, it's the 26, 27 budget. For example, the school has a plow tractor. in there.
Yeah, we just said that, but that's not, that hasn't been approved by anybody yet.
And then we're looking at the lawnmower and stuff. My point, when you get into the gym floor resurfacing,
What is it?
there are items, all right, roundabout way. Here's what I'm getting at. The town now has the building. All the buildings, we take care of the outside of the buildings, the grounds and everything else. And I guess I would just ask if, as we go through this, we take a hard look at that building and the grounds and see what may need to happen there.
And I think we'll probably have to capture it under town capital, not school
That's my
capital.
point. That's what I'm saying.
But if they want to, something like doing the gym floor might be more of a nice to have than a need to have, that's a school capital. But if it needs a new roof, that'd be a town capital.
Well, I guess you can have a discussion as to who should where that budget should be, but all I'm asking is, the building's now been utilized for a few years, and, I don't see any, haven't seen any capital items going into the building. It's just,
And I think this is the first year that the town's actually going to put eyes on it
Right,
versus
yep.
the school. I mean, the school's looking at it, and if you see what their capital requests are, historically, it's been lawnmowers, equipment, that kind of stuff. It's never been roofs and those things,
Right.
new furnaces. And so I think
Yeah.
now that we've got Alan and Phil and the highway department looking at these things through a different set of eyes, we're gonna say, oh, hold on a minute, you might need that, but we need this first.
that's all, that's
Okay.
all I'm asking, is that somebody's looking at those buildings and saying, we've got to keep them in good shape.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the reasons why we
That's what he did.
had the appetite to do this, right? So it's our building. We don't want to have to stop making major repairs in a few years because we're not paying attention to it.
That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One item I would, point of order, I guess, would be that some of this equipment needs maintenance. And I'm not sure if you're gonna have the townspeople maintain some of these, in other words, the tractors, the lawnmowers.
So we're not handling maintenance. We're not handling maintenance
Repair?
on their equipment.
Who is?
They're handling maintenance on their own equipment.
They're gonna take a plow truck and they're gonna, well, to me, some of them big items that you don't want to fall apart, I think ought to be the town's.
So
Maintenance.
I think in the long-range plan, that's the discussion we're having. We've already
Okay.
started that discussion. I can actually see, it might be after I'm gone, it could be 3, 4, 5 years from now. I can see a garage handling all town equipment.
Yeah.
So when I was up at Colchester buying a ladder truck, I noticed that they had they had this big building and they had a police car,
Yeah.
fire apparatus, school bus, plows, and they had like 5 mechanics running around, and they were doing, Colchester's a much bigger place, but they were doing everything. So I see somewhere down the road, but I think that we have to probably look at positioning, positions within the town, job descriptions before we go that route, because we're asking the highway department people to do more than we've had in the past, so. Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead, Gary.
So this is on topic yet off topic. In the money we talked about the last meeting that we ultimately sent back to the town to, is the irrigation for the school, has that been released back to the town yet?
So that has to be deobligated and has to be done at a town meeting.
Okay,
And that'll be on our November's town meeting. The
Perfect.
Board of Selectmen have to vote to deobligate it.
Yep.
And when we do, we can put it on the call for the town meeting in
Perfect.
November.
that's all I needed here.
Mhm.
Excellent response.
Good. I don't make these up, I know. Yeah, there's a process for everything, including speed mitigation. Yeah, front page of I tell you right, front page of the quarterly, you'll see it. Anything else?
I personally don't have anything. Does anybody else on this board?
You got your P&Ls both in PDF and Excel,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
I sent it, and I think Suzanne sent it.
Yep.
I know, I love that. I don't know if you know too, Suzanne had her surgery today, so
Okay.
she's gonna be out for a couple of days, but then working remotely, but then occasionally her husband's gonna drive her in, and she's gonna try to work when she can, but it was a knee replacement, so I think it's gonna, I think I probably shouldn't have just said that, right? HR. But I think that, so she'll be able to be reached in a few days, but right now I think she's just gonna recuperate a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm
I say
sure,
things and then she gives me the dirty look like HR. No, don't say that.
yeah, so at least now we have a plan that we are spent, now we're just a tick over, I believe, a tick over 17, but we are close, a rounding. Yeah, now we're back up over it and everything. You're not gonna get that money for a while. We won't see that money until springtime.
But you're
However,
gonna see the de-obligation after the town meeting in November, there will be an uptick again.
of the 200,000,
And
correct?
you'll see another one when they close out after the audit. There'll be some money from the town back to the, and doesn't come
Correct.
after the audit.
And that's at 200, yeah, that's at 200.
That's closer to 500,000.
Okay,
Yeah,
close.
we're gonna be close to like 18, 9/22.
Okay, so we're gonna be right back in the situation where
Mhm.
Gary's gonna say, by springtime, we need to have this done.
Well, so I mean,
It,
maybe the thing is that we just keep thinking in the same direction. On my Excel file here, I just graphed the capital spend, the trajectory of the 5-year capital plan, and it's a beautiful line graph. There's a nice gap in between and it looks great, so. if we
it's a,
continue.
it's a nice,
It's a nice smooth, and the area under the curve is great. So if we continue doing something like this,
And then-
it's a nice story.
Good.
yeah, so maybe then we just have to either keep pecking away at it or we adjust the top end or however we want to do it is a very, very good situation that we're in. Thank you.
And it looks like there's some other things on here that Bob could pick from, right? Like there's more.
So
Yeah.
there's things that happen every year, like the firehouse with their turnout gear and so on. Then there's things that pop up that we need. So if you notice on the highway department, their next truck is in 2027, 28, but that was all predetermined.
Yeah.
They said when something gets paid off, then you can add one. But nobody will be moving anything up if we do this.
Yeah, and I think this as a board would be one of those things that when we analyze this, we don't want to have new things pop in. We want it to stay as a baseline. This is the baseline. Obviously, things are going to pop up that need to be.
So I
paid
think
for.
the baseline is probably closer to where it was last year.
Yep.
In that 750 range, which I think we said was around 3% of the budget. I think we had a number
Yeah.
that capital committee came up with.
Yep.
But so now we can take a little bit of a capital holiday for a couple of years,
Mhm.
but we know that's really where it's gonna live.
Yep.
When we can't pay off things early.
So it's a good
The
problem.
28-29 year is still a pretty good bump. So,
It is.
mhm.
Why is it?
So there's work we can do if we want to,
Well, it's, and that,
there's room.
and that bump looks like it's more on the school side where it has a gym resurfacing,
Now,
LED electronic sign for messages.
no, there's an engine 4 replacement is sitting up top.
Yeah,
There's some money up top. So
yeah,
there's room,
it's
but
a
when you
good
start
amount.
looking at this graphically, you can see it. So this is a good story, Bob. This is great.
And maybe we have an opportunity in that year that looks like it's gonna be a little higher to put some money aside to knock it down.
Yeah.
As we do.
Or slide it.
Or slide it, or however
Think-
we need to do it, but
Yeah.
we're in a good capital spot, which in the past, we have always cut.
What do we have to do now with this?
Nothing with us, I don't believe it, but I think the idea you brought up before, and I said last night at the Board of Selectmen meeting, that this is a Board of Finance problem to go out and tell the story, but I was corrected by my other two fellow selectmen,
It's our story.
and
to
they
tell.
say, we're gonna team up with the Board of Finance and help
Yeah.
them tell the story.
Yeah, I think it's a collaborative message. to
I
go
don't
out.
disagree. I did last night, but I don't.
Yeah,
anymore.
I know, and I'm like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, no, it's a collaborative. I think that it would be a great story to say, hey, this is what happened, like Gary said, this is what happened, this is how we got here, and this is what we're gonna do, and this is what we're gonna do going forward. I think it would be a great story to be able to tell
I
people.
think it's a better problem to have than coming and saying we're $400,000 short
Correct.
every year, because we don't budget correctly or we overspend. And we have not done either of those, so.
We're in much better shape than a lot of.
And the
other
good
towns.
news is in the grand list is things are growing. I mean, the town is in a growth mode. I think there's a lot of positives.
Yep.
With houses being built, commercials being built, and they seem to be in the right place.
Mhm.
Got a reval coming up, and so I think the Board of Finance's work going to be cut out when we try to identify what that new mill rate is so taxpayers feel
Yeah.
somewhat comfortable with the increase.
I think if we were gonna execute it now versus later on, would be the penalty portion of it. Is like, do you get better benefit, just make the payments as you go along and pay it later on as to the closer of the due date of it, or is it just,
One more number
Drop
you
the
might want to
bucket.
know, Melissa told me just before I came here, was the estimated interest savings is around 30 grand, between 30, 31,000 by paying these off early. That's another plus, so
that's it? So we paid it off now versus paying off on the actual maturity date of it?
yes.
Lou, put the pill under your tongue.
Everything's good.
So, no, you said when was the town meeting gonna be to have the other tranche? Yep. Okay. So sometime late November, 1st of December. Okay. So really, that's when we'll know, all right, we're gonna get the other tranche of money, and then we'd probably send the new boards to say, hey, this is how much money you have now to go spend down.
I think this is a great place to be ahead of budget build.
Correct.
Yep.
I would, the only question I have is, do you have a secondary list of this? Basically, if you have a chart, you have this chart where you're stating, I want to spend 672 and change. Are there other things where we say, hey, you got $400,000 now additional? Is there like another subset of items that you can just start picking off?
I think we should stay on the capital and not look at other projects that we could be
No,
doing.
I'm talking about on the
Right, well,
capital.
yeah, well, one is a tanker truck. It's 60-something $60,000, 62, whatever it is on here. I mean, the
Yeah.
tanker truck's got 3 more years on it. I mean, there's something right there.
Okay.
The reason I didn't go with that, because I couldn't make the numbers work
it
and
a
stay
lease?
under 700.
It
so.
would, you know, if this continues, it would be nice to see if we could migrate off of paying the trucks off over 5 years as opposed to just buying them.
Yeah.
Just something to think about.
Mm.
You know, that, if you're gonna go back and look at the capital plan and say, if more money's coming our way,
Probably
how
not.
would we handle it?
Oh, they're not doing them?
Maybe you fold that into it going, you know, as we procure capital items rather than a 5-year installment plan, what does it look like if we pay for it in year 1?
Hmm.
Just something to think about. I know Lou won't like it.
No, I agree. So the other thing is anything we pay.
Yeah.
It's one less thing on the capital for the next.
Bingo.
year.
Yep.
Yeah, side. Nice. All right, so, as of time, so if nobody has any other questions on this, let's move it. We'll put this off to the side. All right, review of minutes. Okay. Okay, so we don't have anything else? Next meeting. All right. Oh, hold on. Public comments. Nothing. Okay. Next meeting is gonna be October 1st. And. All right, all in favor? Aye. Or opposed? Abstentions? No? All right, it's going to be 9:50, wait, 8:44. Got it.